Johnny from UltimatePaperMache.com, and today we get to finally put some paper mache on our paper mache cat. This is lesson number 6, I think, in our How to Make a Paper Mache Cat lesson series. We've got the armature all done. Since the last time I let you look at my cat, I've added a few things. I put a little bit more paper on her tail just because she's got a lot of hair and I didn't feel that her tail was fat enough. I moved the ears around like I always do. I knew I was going to and I couldn't help it. And I've already dropped her once. So there, straightened out that ear. So today I'm going to add some paper mache clay. You can find the recipe for this and a separate video on how to use it on my blog. Just go to ultimatepapermache.com and look for the paper mache clay link up at the top. I'll put a link to it down below too, just to make sure that it's really easy for you to find. I know though that some of you don't want to use the paper mache clay for your cat. Paper strips and paste work just fine. I'm not going to be using it today. I don't want to cut up a whole bunch of strips of paper and get them all over the floor. So I'm not going to show you how to do that, but that's really obvious. You just cover it, you know, with probably at least 3 or 4 layers of paper strips and any paste recipe that you happen to like. There's one thing I wanted to show you though before we get started. If you do want to use, get this clay out of the way. If you want to use the paper strips and you're concerned that maybe there's some dips and bumps in your armature that are made by the crumpled paper and masking tape underneath, it's really hard to get this a really nice smooth surface. And sometimes those dips and bumps are just really irritating, and it's difficult when you're using paper strips because they naturally follow every single bump on your armature. And I'm going to show you how to smooth them out. This is, whoops, if I can get it over here, it's kind of heavy. I have the giant economy size, but this is all-purpose joint compound. It's one of the ingredients in the paper mache clay, and if you're not sure what it's for, just go out to YouTube and do a search for joint compound and you'll see how this is used in the real world. If you're not sure what it's called in your country, go to my site, ultimatepapermache.com, and do a search for what is joint compound called in your country. And I have a whole link, a whole post up on it. Anyway, this stuff, it just looks like plaster, but it's not plaster. It's calcium carbonate with a whole bunch of other stuff added in, which I don't know what they are. But it's a nice product that you can just smooth onto your armature to cover up any dips and weirdnesses. Don't put it on thick. This was actually intended to be put on walls in a really, really thin, paper thin layer. So if you put it on too thick, it's going to crack. You're also going to be covering it up with paper mache though, so it really doesn't, if it does crack, it doesn't matter all that much. But just go ahead and smooth it out. Then put it someplace nice and warm or in front of the fan and let it dry, and then add your paper strips and paste. Now, I'm not going to be doing that because I'm using the paper mache clay. My mixer kind of broke when I threw it on the floor. I am clumsy. So I used this, it's a paint mixer and a drill, and it really seemed to have broken up all of the paper in there. This is actually a bit smoother than I think I've ever been able to get it before. So if you happen to have an electric drill, go ahead and try that. I think it's a good idea. I'm going to go ahead and cover my entire cat with one very thin layer, and I'm going to let it get hard. Since I can only hang on to one portion at a time, I'll probably need to do this in several stages. Cover up as much as I can until I run out of a place to hang on to it, and then let that dry. I'll put it in front of the fan or over the furnace. I might put it out in the sunroom, and just let that dry. It'll get a crust on it, and it'll be possible to hold on to it probably overnight. And maybe even sooner. And then you can go ahead and finish the other portion of it. Do the bottom, I would say, last. So then you can do the entire bottom, lay it down on a piece of plastic, on very flat, make sure that your table that you're putting it on is flat. Then turn it over and carefully peel off that plastic. If it doesn't seem to want to peel off nice and smooth, let it sit for a few minutes or even a couple of hours until you can pull it off without pulling the clay off too. And then you'll have, for sure, a nice smooth bottom that will sit very, very steady on your table. Let's pretend that this is our second layer, that we've already got a nice firm undercoat of hardened paper mache clay. And then we're going to put this over the top. And I'm going to get it damp, my knife a little bit damp, because just makes it a little bit easier to get a nice smooth finish. And then I'm going to, depending on what direction her hair seems to be hanging in that particular part, I'm just going to go ahead and texture it. You can texture it as much as you want, make really deep undercuts. If you have a short-haired cat, don't do any of this. Just go ahead and make a nice smooth surface. And then when you apply your gesso, use a stiff brush, and the brush marks will actually make perfect hair for a short-haired cat. My kitty has long hair, so I'm just going to do that. And this will look really nice once it's all painted up. Now the other thing to wonder about is real fine details like eyes. Now with the eyes and nose and with the toes, because we want all those toes to be distinct, again I'm going to pretend that we've got, well actually in this case, because you don't want the eyes to, you don't want to lose where those eyes go. You worked rather hard making those eyes in your armature, and you don't want to cover that up with too much clay, because then when you go back it'll be difficult to find it. So I'm going to go ahead and do the eyes in the first layer. Just depends on what works, And I'm going to be using a little tool, if I can find it. Here it is. I got a set of cat hair. That seems sort of appropriate. These are clay carving tools, and I got them, I think they were for $8 or something from Amazon.com. There's a whole, let me show you, there's a whole set of 12 of them, and these seem to work really well. I'll put a link to those on my blog post, just in case you want to go and check them out. I'm just going to use just an end, probably this one, and I'll go back over that. Now I know I didn't get the shape right. Like I said, I'm doing it upside down, but you can see that you can use your tool, just gently slide it over the clay and smooth it out really nice. You can get a nice line in here. If your clay seems to be too juicy to make this work, go ahead and put some on and leave it for an hour or two until it starts to thicken up just from drying in the air. That will make a really big difference. So you can go ahead and do that. You do the same thing for the toes, just to make sure that you don't lose that line that we worked so hard to get with the little pieces of aluminum foil. And take as long as you need to. This probably will take, I would say over time, probably 3 or 4 days before I'm completely finished with this part of the project. So I hope you all have fun with it. I did want to mention one thing. Several people have mentioned on my blog lately something that actually fits in really closely with a book I'm reading. They say, oh, wow, you're making it look so easy, and I'm kind of struggling with this part of it or that part of it, and so I just, I don't know. And I wanted, this is a book I'm reading, I really love it, and I'd love to have a conversation about it on the blog. Art and Fear, Observations on the Perils and Rewards of Art Making. And the authors mentioned in here that, especially in America, we've got this odd idea that art for real artists is easy. And trust me, it's not. I don't know if I can call myself a real artist or not. I don't know who gets to do that. You know, is that an honor that is bestowed by somebody else, or do we just decide on our own? I don't know. But what I do know is that I have never found that it's easy. I'm editing this video in Vegas studio. Is that what it's called? Movie studio. And there's an edit button. So if I work for 45 minutes and videotape myself doing it, and at the end of that process it didn't come out right, I just erase that portion and I start over. You don't get to see the parts where I have to work at it, where I have to try to figure out what's going on. People who have been working in a particular medium for a long time, it may look like they're just moving through things really quickly, and they clearly know more about their materials and their techniques than someone who's just starting out. But with every painting or every sculpture, there's going to be challenges that pushes them just that little bit farther, and that's what makes it fun. So if it isn't coming out quite as easily as you wanted it to, don't worry about it. Even if it doesn't come out at all, don't worry about it. This is a test project. Just say, I was learning on this one, and next time it will work. Okay? So I just wanted to mention that here, because I have heard that quite a few times lately on the blog, and I just want to give you some encouragement. I hope you're having fun with this. I'm going to go ahead and finish up my kitty, and in the next video we're going to be ready to paint her. We'll put on some gesso, and then we'll paint our cats in whatever kitty type colors yours is going to be. So I think that's going to be really fun. That'll be our last lesson, as a matter of fact. I hope to see you then. Come visit me, ultimatepapermache.com. Bye-bye.